artists in the world. He came at a point when things were really radically changing in the early 20th century, and his work was seen to represent a shift in society. He was obviously very well known for his technique as well, and he was a leader in that field. And since then, his work has become legendary. It has taken this status with it, and therefore the value has raised. It is a tricky question because you could argue that people who are working alongside him in his studio also were doing a similar thing. So there's something also to be said about the power of, we would now call it sort of self-marketing. I'm not sure he used that term, but there are certain artists who do get recognized over others. But I'm not saying that he doesn't have the talent, but that's basically the reason why art has its value, because it represents something socially. Scarcity is a huge factor. Of course, Picasso is long since passed, so his works are even more valuable as they get passed down through the centuries. And again, it's about, sorry to say this, but it's also about what people are willing to pay for it, or what want to pay for it. It's almost a symbol of a status symbol, or a nod to the support of that particular symbol that he represents, which was a time of change.
So when people are buying this painting, they're essentially buying a piece of history. So you can understand a reasonably high price tag in that context. But who are the people that are buying these paintings? As we've seen the rise of the oligarchs, I think can you say oligopoly? I think you can. As we've seen that sort of the number of very rich people in the world increase, have we seen have the cost of the paintings or the price of the paintings risen in tandem with that?
That's an interesting question. As more people perhaps have crazy amounts of disposable income, perhaps they're willing to pay more. There are also a lot of sort of spikes in what people are willing to pay for. I was actually on air recently talking about the fall of some prices of NFT art, which went crazy high and didn't. I think though with an artist like Picasso, with these sort of classics, they are being bought by people who, as you said, want to buy a piece of history, but also preserve that history. Collectors, this one was owned by Emily Fisher Landau, who's one of a very famous American art collector, and her collection, she passed away last year, but her collection is like a piece of history across, in a certain genre. And that's how collectors usually look at their collections, that they are trying to build a chapter, a story through art, or in this case, obviously through a particular body of artworks from a particular period of time. And so, the collector mentality plays into that as well. They become very sought after by people, a very small amount of people, and therefore, again, that question of scarcity comes in. People are willing to go to the market and, pay, let's say, over $100 million for this because they want it to be part of their collection. It's like a missing piece of a puzzle.
This is now going on tour around the world. There's a reason that Sotheby's are touring it, because they're trying to drum up business effectively. They might not word it that way, but that is effectively what's going on. It's about to go on sale. Who do you think will buy it? Do you think we'll know who will buy it? Do countries buy works of art that are this expensive? Would you find the British Museum, for example, in the headlines for all the wrong reasons at the moment, but would you find large museums bidding?
It's usually individuals. I would not be able to predict who would buy this. It probably will go above its asking price. Usually, as you mentioned, it is part of a campaign by the auction house to raise awareness, and probably they have gone a little conservative with their estimate, or they're hoping so anyway. But it's usually, to answer your question about museums are usually funded by these kinds of individuals, these patrons of the arts, since the beginning of centuries old. Patrons have been the ones, individual patrons have been the ones. It was royal families, and then it was sort of rich individuals, the ones who normally also fund museums. So it is probably, I would guess, it would go to an individual rather than an institution, although it may well be then loaned to an institution. There was a case in the UAE actually where we bought one of the world's most expensive paintings, which hasn't actually been exhibited yet, but it was bought by an individual and then said to be going to be displayed at an institution. But yes, the question of value of art and who buys it is a very interesting one, because it is a small number of people that have that amount of disposable income to spend on this kind of thing, but it's definitely a role that has been around for centuries. And what I mean by that is the patrons of the arts, people who wish to preserve who we are as humans, that particular time in history, changes in humanity, through purchasing and supporting art.
Very interesting there to speak to you, Anna. Thank you very much for framing the story involving the $120 million Picasso that is due to be exhibited here in Dubai on the 25th and the 26th of September by Sotheby's. Well worth going to take a look at it, I would suggest. I think the general public are allowed to go, even if you haven't got a chance of affording that price tag. But thank you very much indeed, Anna Seaman, the art expert and the co-founder of the Morrow Collective. They're an NFT fine art consultancy.